There is a place within you that creates worlds, not slowly, not hesitantly, not someday. Now, and if you could still the noise, silence the doubt, cease the endless effort of trying, you would hear it, the whisper of the word, the eternal voice that declares before a single thing appears, it is done. You see, manifestation was never meant to be a process. It was meant to be a decree, a sacred act of inner knowing, faster than thought, swifter than lightning, as instant as belief. The delay is not in reality. The delay is in you, in your hesitation to claim, in your addiction to time, in your fear that what you desire might not be yours. But I tell you this, lightning speed manifestation is not only possible, it is natural. It is the divine rhythm of creation, and it begins the moment you believe without contradiction. I have seen it. I have felt the walls of circumstance melt before me because I dared to assume with such intensity, such emotional finality, that the world had no choice but to obey. You want proof? I have imagined a letter, and it came. I have assumed a meeting, and they appeared. I have sat in silence and dared to feel the touch of what I loved, and the very person miles away moved like a puppet by the hand of the unseen. But none of this came from wishing, none from begging, none from waiting. It came from a single, irrevocable act of inner possession. I already have it. I already am it. It is already done. No matter what the world showed me, no matter what the clock said, no matter how impossible it looked, because speed, you see, is not of the clock. It is of conviction. And the moment you feel something so fully that there is no room left for when, it becomes now. Do you not see? Creation doesn't ask you to work harder. It asks you to believe more completely. The power is not in doing, it is in being. You do not manifest the thing by chasing it. You manifest it by assuming the state where it is already yours. And the ladder of time collapses. The bridges of cause and effect fall away. Because consciousness is not bound by the laws of man, it is the law. And what you assume, with feeling, with fire, with full surrender, must rush into form, not slowly, not eventually, but like lightning. Do you want to know the real reason some manifest in a whisper, while others wait for years and call it God's timing? It is not the size of the desire. It is not the difficulty of the dream. It is the lack of contradiction. You cannot say, it is done, and in the same breath say, but how? You cannot feel it's yours, while looking for evidence that it might not be. Double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. Do not pray with one eye open. Do not visualize and then consult circumstance. Do not plant the seed and then dig it up every hour to check for roots. This is why most wait. They do not truly believe. They flirt with the state, but do not marry it. But if you, even for a moment, can enter the state completely, emotionally, unshakably, if you can see it, hear it, touch it in your imagination, and more importantly, feel the inner thrill that it is real, then you will collapse time. You will move the hand of God. You will find that things that should have taken months fall into your lap in hours. You want to move fast? Then feel deep. You want the world to shift quickly? Then stop checking the world. Close your eyes and see only the end. This is how the masters did it. How Neville sat in a New York apartment, broke, without a cent, without a passage home to Barbados. And instead of panicking, he imagined stepping off the boat, embracing his family, smelling the Caribbean air. He didn't ask how. He didn't wonder when. He assumed the scene and let the unseen arrange the rest. And within days, without a dollar in his pocket, a series of so-called coincidences unfolded. An army officer appeared, offered him a ticket home, and within a week he stood on the very soil he had already visited in mind. This is lightning speed manifestation, not because the world sped up, but because the man stopped doubting, because he entered the state and refused to leave. So you ask, how fast can I manifest? I ask you, how deep can you feel? Can you surrender the need to control the route? Can you abandon your addiction to logic? Can you lay down the calendar and clock and live entirely inside the finished desire? Then you will see it. You will know what it means to bypass time, because in truth, there is no time. There is only now. And when you assume something as true now with such finality that there is no space for hoping, only being, then the world has no choice but to mirror it. Now, let me ask you, how long would it take you to feel like a millionaire? A year, a decade, a lifetime? Number, it takes a moment, a breath, a single shift of consciousness. And if you can maintain that feeling, if you can dwell in it, without needing to see the money in your bank account, then the world will rearrange with blazing speed to reflect your new identity. Do not ask reality to show you who you are. Show reality who you've become. Walk into the room with the calm confidence of one whose world is already different. Not hoping, not convincing, just being. There is a stillness that does not beg, it does not plead, it does not whisper in fear or reach with trembling hands. It simply knows. And from that knowing, the universe bows. This is the stillness you must enter if you wish to manifest with lightning speed. Because speed does not come from frantic repetition. Speed comes from settled assumption. When you know something is yours, truly know, you do not chase it. You do not check on it. You do not compare it. You move differently. You breathe differently. You radiate the outcome. That's what manifestation at the speed of lightning looks like. A silent, sovereign vibration that says, "This is mine," before the world can object. Do you know why kings don't rush? Because everything they need comes to them. They don't chase it. They summon it. And when you dwell in the end, when you walk as the version of yourself who already has the thing, you summon it too. Not by effort, but by frequency. Because every state has a feeling. And when you find the feeling, you unlock the world where that feeling is already real. You are not becoming, you are selecting. Like walking into a grand hall of infinite realities and placing your hand firmly on the one labeled, "It is done." And when you do, the doors begin to open. The people begin to shift. The timing begins to warp itself around your decision. How did Neville manifest so quickly? He chose with finality. He imagined until the scene felt real, and then he moved on. He didn't rehearse it 100 times. He didn't force it into form with effort. He simply felt it, claimed it, and let it go, knowing that feeling is the one substance from which all things are born. This is the missing key for most. They imagine, but they do not feel. They pray, but they do not possess. They affirm, but they do not assume. And assumption is the only thing that matters. If you can assume the state and let it soak into your marrow, your world will shift so quickly, you'll call it a miracle. But it is not miracle, it is law. There is no need to perform rituals. There is no need to wait for signs. The moment you feel it real, the moment you inhabit the end completely, you've set the wheels in motion, and they move at the speed of light, faster than thought, beyond language, beneath the surface of sight, because all creation begins in the unseen. And when the unseen is held with conviction, the seen must take shape. You are not waiting on reality. Reality is waiting on you. So close your eyes, feel the result, feel the check in your hand, feel the love beside you, feel the key turning in the door of your new home. And when you feel it so deeply that it overrides the facts, you've done it. You've collapsed time. You've stepped into a version of you that the world has no choice but to match. Because assumption is creation, and what you assume, you become instantly. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. And that is why speed belongs to those who no longer hope, but instead live as the version of themselves who already has it. You are not waiting for the thing to happen. You are waiting to become the one who lives from its fulfillment. And the moment you become that version, not in word, but in feeling, in assumption, in identity, the shift is instant. Why? Because reality is not outside of you. It is the outpicturing of the state you dwell in. If you live in the state of lack, you may pray for wealth, but it will remain just out of reach. If you dwell in the state of waiting, you may visualize results, but life will keep saying, soon. But enter the state of already mine, and the entire matrix bends. Do you remember the story of Neville's friend who wanted a job in a department store? He didn't ask her to go out and apply. He didn't send her into the world to look for chances. He told her simply, sleep tonight in the feeling that you are already working there. And she did. She closed her eyes and imagined the keys of the store in her hand. She felt the fabric she would fold, the customers she would greet, the scent of the perfume aisle. She made it real in her imagination, and within 48 hours, she was offered a job there without applying. Not because she took action, because she became the woman who already had the job. This is what separates the slow manifester from the fast one. One is hoping, the other is embodying. You want lightning? Then live from the end. Not visit it, not flirt with it, dwell in it. Do not visualize to make it happen. Visualize because it already has. You are not trying to create something new. You are tuning into the version of you where it already exists. That's all this is. Creation is finished. Every possibility exists now. And the speed at which it manifests depends entirely on the purity of your identification with the result. Not your effort, not your grind, not your external performance, but your inner allegiance to the end. There is no gap between you and your desire except for the space created by your hesitation. Collapse it, dissolve it with certainty. Say with boldness, I no longer wait to become, I simply am. And the speed of lightning will be your servant. Why? Because the world reflects your concept of self. And when you walk as one who already has it, the world can only obey. It is not magic. It is the law of identity, the law of consciousness, the law that never fails, but only waits. For you to stop waiting. Repetition is not for the world. It is for you. You do not repeat the scene because God forgot. You repeat it because your mind still wanders. You repeat it to tame the beast of doubt, to soothe the nervous system that was taught survival, to anchor yourself again and again in the feeling of the end. You do not force the scene. You relax into it. You do not chase the result. You sink into the assumption. And each time you do, you carve the new identity deeper into the unseen, like a sculptor chipping away at stone until the masterpiece beneath is revealed. You are not building the result. You are uncovering the version of you where it already exists. And the more often you return to that feeling, the faster the veil tears. This is how I've created things that the world called impossible. Not through noise, not through action, not through panic, but by lying on my bed, slowing my breath, slipping into stillness, and feeling the thing already done. The key turned in the door, the check deposited, the audience applauding, the plane landing in the city I wished to visit. And when the feeling was right, when I felt the thrill of it deep in my bones, I let it go. No follow-up, no forcing. I simply trusted that what was real in feeling must become real in form. And it did, again and again and again, because speed is not about repetition of thought, but purity of assumption. This is what you must understand. When you enter the scene of the wish fulfilled and feel it with clarity, with richness, with sensory detail and emotional finality, you send a signal to the universe louder than any spoken word. You declare your allegiance to that timeline. You step into the vibration of the already done. You move reality with stillness. And the more often you do it, the faster your outer world rearranges. Not because time sped up, but because you stopped doubting. Because you sat in the room of your inner mansion, lit a candle in the dark, and declared with silence, this is my home now. This is who I am. This is what I have. And when you do this consistently, you will wake up one day in a new world that looks exactly like the one you rehearsed in imagination. You'll walk into the scene you once visited in silence. You'll meet the people you already felt shaking your hand. You'll smell the room, feel the temperature, recognize the exact moment that once lived only in vision. And you'll smile, not in disbelief, but in remembrance. Because deep down, you always knew. I felt this. I assumed this. I lived this long before it came to pass. There is a doorway you pass every night, and few ever recognize it for what it is. It is that gentle slope between wakefulness and sleep. That quiet borderland where the body lies still, but the mind is alive with image, where you are too tired to argue with the world, and just awake enough to rebuild it. This state, this sacred in-between, is not ordinary drowsiness. It is the golden chamber of the gods. It is where the seed is planted in the womb of the subconscious, state akin to sleep, sats. Neville did not call it visualization. He did not treat it as daydreaming. He revered it. He entered it with intention. And once there, he assumed his desire as fulfilled with such clarity and feeling that it imprinted his entire being. And when he rose from that state, the world conspired to match what he had seen. This is how you manifest with lightning speed. You plant the vision when the soil is soft. You assume the scene when the gate is open. And then you trust. This is not passive imagining. This is pregnancy. You enter the drowsy state, you slow your breath, and you play the scene over and over until it begins to take on life of its own. Not forced, not strained. You are not the one making it happen. You are the one experiencing it as already real. It could be a single moment, a hug, a kiss, a contract signed, a call received, a key turning in the door, one loop, one image, felt fully with every nerve. Felt until it feels natural, because naturalness is the secret. The moment the scene feels ordinary, as though it has already happened, it is done. And from that moment on, all outer conditions begin to bend toward it. But understand this. The reason SATS works so rapidly is not only because of the state of consciousness. It works because in that moment, you are not resisting, you are not questioning, you are not debating, you are not asking how, you are simply being. You are embodying the truth that you wish the world to reflect. And lightning speed manifestation is born when your imagination and your emotion and your belief all speak in unison. It is done. It is done. It is done. If you do this nightly, you will not need to force change in the day. You will rise from your bed carrying the fragrance of fulfillment. And the world, like clay, will begin to shape itself around your state, not because you controlled it, but because you claimed it, you stepped out of time, you became one with the end, and the end is what all beginnings serve. This is how creation works. This is why Neville's results were so swift, not because he was special, but because he used imagination lawfully. He entered SATS with precision, assumed with intensity, and moved through the world with the knowing that what he saw inwardly would harden into fact. Letting go is not forgetting. It is not abandoning. It is not giving up the desire. Letting go is the royal act of no longer needing. You've felt it real. You've made the scene natural. You've walked the inner halls of the future and touched what your senses could not yet prove. Now you rest. Now you trust that the world must conform. Now you let go, not because you don't care, but because you know. When the artist finishes a painting, they do not keep reapplying the brush. They stand back and say, "It is finished." This is what you must do with your assumption. Declare it finished. You do not return to the vision in fear. You return only when you are hungry for delight, only to deepen the experience of having, not to make it happen. Because every time you imagine from lack, you reopen the wound, you revive the doubt, you send the signal to the subconscious that it's still not here, and so it isn't. But when you let go in confidence, you create space for the unseen to move. You become magnetic, you radiate certainty, and the world, like iron filings to a magnet, arranges itself around your assumption. Neville once said, "Do not discuss your desires with others, keep them to yourself." Why? Because talking from a place of lack reinforces that you do not have it. But when you move in silence, when you let go with sacred calm, you become like the still mountain, unchanging, unshaken, and yet commanding the weather of the world. This is why those who manifest quickly are often those who do so quietly, because they are not performing, they are not convincing, they are knowing, and this knowing is the seed of speed. You don't have to scream at a tree to grow. You don't have to beg the soil to bloom. You plant the seed. You water it with faith. You walk away knowing the harvest is inevitable. So it is with assumption. You feel it real. You enter the state. And then you go about your life as though it were already yours, because it is. And the one who lives that way, the one who no longer asks when or how, is the one who manifests with lightning speed. You may still be tempted. You may feel the pull to check, to peek, to beg. But remember, faith has no backup plan. Assumption needs no evidence. Creation needs no apology. Once the feeling is fixed, once the scene is alive, once the I am is declared, the law is set in motion, and no man, no rule, no time, no force can stop what you've already received. Let go, not with fear, but with majesty, not with distance, but with dominion. For this is not the absence of desire, it is the full embodiment of it. It is the final exhale of creation. I have it, I am it, I need nothing more. The moment you assume, the moment you feel it real, the moment you know it is done, life begins to echo your decision. But hear me clearly, signs are not to convince you. Signs are not proof. They are merely reflections of your inner certainty. If you seek them like a beggar, you delay the gift. If you wait for them to believe, you've reversed the order, because it is not the sign that brings the manifestation. It is your faith, unwavering, untouchable, that brings both the sign and the thing itself. Neville spoke of signs with reverence, not reliance. He knew the outer world is a servant, not a master. And once the assumption is fixed, the signs come like footsteps before the arrival. You might overhear a conversation about your dream. You might stumble upon a book that confirms your vision. You might feel a strange peace, as though something beneath the surface has already shifted. These are not coincidences. These are echoes, the echo of your inner man projected outward by the law. But the master never clings to the echo. He never worships the sign. He simply smiles and says, of course, because he already knows. The one who manifests with speed is the one who does not require the world to speak back. He speaks and walks on. She assumes and lives as though the world has no choice but to comply, because it doesn't. The law is exact. The mirror reflects the image, and the image is set by your inner speech, your inner state, your inner identity. So when the signs appear, and they will, welcome them with quiet gratitude, not noisy excitement. Do not run to your journal and declare it's happening. Instead, say it already has. I once imagined a great opportunity, one that required no resume, no outreach, no proof, only faith. I saw it clearly, felt it in SATS, assumed it until it became real. And one morning I opened my eyes to a message from someone across the globe, offering the exact thing I had imagined, not similar, exact. The words they used matched the words I had heard in my vision. The scene unfolded like déjà vu. But it wasn't déjà vu, it was law fulfilled. This is what awaits those who assume and let go. Not vague hope, precise fulfillment. And the signs that preceded it? A few hints, a few feelings, a few uncanny whispers in the wind, but none were needed, only recognized. You are not waiting for signs. You are walking in the fullness of your decision, and the signs are simply the ripples caused by the rock you dropped in consciousness. Let them come, let them speak, but never let them be your reason, for the only true cause is within. There is a moment in every transformation where you no longer wish, no longer hope, no longer visualize from distance. You become it. You wear the name of your desire like royal robes. You carry it on your shoulders not as ambition, but as identity. This is where manifestation reaches its ultimate speed, when the desire is not something you reach for, but something you are. I am. These two words are the divine hinge on which all creation swings. Say, I am poor, and your world bends to match. Say, I am wealthy, and the law obeys. Say, I am waiting, and the universe says, then you shall. Say, I am chosen, favored, abundant, already there, and life reshapes its edges to fit your decree. Not tomorrow, not in months. Now because I am is not in the future. It is the timeless command of the eternal present. This is why the masters move through life with speed and certainty, because they do not ask for change, they declare it. They do not visit the state of wealth, they become the wealthy man. They do not hope for healing, they say, I am well. They do not wonder if the love will come. They say, I am loved, I am love. And so it must be, because identity is not merely a mask, it is the blueprint. It is the invisible structure that reality rushes to fill. I once watched my own life transform in a matter of days, from confusion to clarity, from lack to luxury, not by effort, but by I am, by waking in the morning and refusing to speak as I once did, by discarding every thought that said someday and replacing it with now, by walking into the world not as the person who wanted change, but as the one who commanded it by being it. And when you do this, when you no longer ask permission to have, to be, to receive, but instead say, I am it, you will watch the heavens tear open with speed so divine, you'll wonder why you ever waited. Let them laugh. Let them question. Let the world call you delusional as you walk with the posture of one who already holds the thing in your hand. Because it is not the world's permission you seek, it is your own. And once you give it, once you allow yourself to fully inhabit the end without shame, without guilt, without doubt, you will find yourself standing in a reality that matches the name you dared to claim, not eventually, not incrementally, but instantly, because the world is not responding to your words. It is responding to your self-concept, the one who says, I am, with unwavering fire, who speaks it from the belly of belief, has already created the thing. The rest is just the unveiling. So now I ask you, what are you calling yourself today? And is it worthy of the life you wish to live? Because the delay you think you're facing is not a test, it is a mirror. And once the image changes, so too will the reflection, with lightning speed. You've asked how to manifest fast. I tell you now, you must be willing to die. Not the death of flesh, but the death of who you were. The version of you who hoped, who hesitated, who begged reality for scraps when they were born to inherit kingdoms. This self must burn. Its thoughts, its stories, its fears, all must be consumed in the flame of your new assumption, because speed comes not to the one who tries harder, but to the one who lets go of the former name completely. Do not pray as the poor man hoping for riches. Become the wealthy one and give thanks. Do not visualize as the lonely soul longing for love. Become love once and let it find you already full. Do not imagine from lack. Assume from fulfillment, and stay there, no matter what. There will come a moment, if you walk this path with boldness, when your external world will still look the same, but you will no longer feel the same. This moment is sacred. It is the turning point. It is when you must persist, even when nothing outside has moved, because your persistence is the fire that completes the shift. It is the final hammer that cracks the shell of your old reality. And if you remain, if you stand firm in your new identity, even while the old world tries to seduce you back, then it will happen. Not in months, not in years, but in moments. Because the universe was only ever waiting for your full and final conviction. Your assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Not because the assumption becomes true, but because it makes itself true. This is the law. This is the answer. This is the lightning you seek. Not in steps, not in striving, not in trying to manipulate the world, but in embodying the end completely and never breaking character. When you live from the end, the middle takes care of itself. So here you are. You've imagined. You've entered sets. You've declared your I am. You've let go. Now you walk, not as the person you were, not as the seeker, but as the one who has already found. You don't ask the mirror to change before you smile. You smile first, because you know what's coming. And when the outer reflects the inner, you will not be surprised. You will only nod and say, of course, I saw this, I felt this, I became this. This is how you manifest with lightning speed. You dare to claim now what others wait years to receive. You choose to feel now what others refuse to feel until proof arrives. You stand now as the man, as the woman, as the soul who already is. And the world, in awe of your conviction, must bow, because it always has, because it always will. You are the cause, you are the light, you are the lightning, and you are ready. Now rise and become what you have already assumed. It is done. This is the power that moves mountains, the silent thunder within your soul, the sacred fire of knowing that burns brighter than doubt. You have crossed the threshold, no longer a traveler in hope, but a sovereign in possession. And as you walk forward from this moment, remember this: Every step you take is the echo of your inner decree. Every breath you draw carries the weight of your new reality. Every glance you cast upon the world is the reflection of the world you have already shaped. You are not waiting for change. You are the change. You are the lightning, swift, unstoppable, and luminous. And now, with this knowledge blazing inside you, there is nothing left to do but to live it, to breathe it, to be it, and the universe, vast, silent, obedient, will answer in kind. So rise, stand tall in the fullness of your imagined self, claim the world that mirrors your unshakable faith, and watch as the impossible bends to your will, manifesting with the speed of lightning, the certainty of the stars, and the power of the eternal I am. It is done. You are done. Now become.